So this is a Westinghouse 80-gallon water heater. I've been noticing for the last couple of days now, the water was getting cooler and cooler from its original heat. So I decided to check it out. I did disconnect, I did turn off the water heater from the breaker, but then I guess an additional support, we have this little gray box here that turns on the water heater during the cheaper times throughout the evening. I think it's after midnight and until 7 o'clock in the morning. But it depends on your area. So it does really save enough water. And with just me and my wife here, the 80-gallon heater is more than ample enough. But lately, we've been noticing a lot colder water. So what I did was, again, I disconnected it from the breaker. And I also have one of these glow sticks here that will let you know. Let me see if it's on. There you go. And then just testing it through different areas of the wire. And then just to confirm, I actually stick it in here and no turn on. So we already know that there is no power running, no power running through any of the wires there. Okay, so we're good. So I purchased this voltmeter or multimeter from Harbor Freight. It works just as good as the other ones I've had in the past, and wanted to test the element. And I know it's the element's not good. So what I did was to isolate just the element itself. So I already unscrewed the wires. And I took a picture of this too, in case I needed to replace the thermostat, which I'm probably going to do anyways, because the kit that I purchased has everything, the upper thermostat as well as the lower thermostat down there, which I will get to. So at this multimeter, I have it at the low setting, which is 200 ohms, and technically when you touch these two wires, let me try to get these together, it's kind of hard to. There you go. Okay, so it's connected there, it's touched there. And this is reading, it's not even reading anything, okay? So I have great feeling. I'm messing around with the terminals here just to make sure I have a good contact with the multimeter. It's still not reading anything. So that already tells me right then and there that the upper element is not working at all. And just to see furthermore, because I did read up about this, on the multimeter I actually changed this to 200. Okay, all right, ohms, and again touching. Oh wow, okay. Let me try to see if I can try to do this here. So if you touch one of the elements and then touch it to the heater itself, anywhere that's ground, you'll see here that there is actually a reading coming up, and I've seen much higher readings as well. Let me try it again. Touch them both. So it's reading something that really shouldn't. So in essence, what's happening is I'm shorting it. I guess the element is shorted out. Likewise, if I touch down there and touch here. So again, I'm touching the other end of the element as well as the any surface on the water heater. Let's see if I can get it going here. And we'll see, it's very hard to do when I'm just holding the camera and doing this. There you go, okay? So again, high reading, which clearly shows that the, again, it's touching here, and then the other one is touching anywhere. It clearly shows that there is a short. So basically all the electricity is going into the water tank and then being grounded. So for simplicity, I also did the bottom one as well, and it gave me the same reading. When I touched both of the elements, and again, I isolated it. So you can tell I already took the wires out, and same thing, okay? It wasn't reading anything, and then when I touched one of the screws with the multimeter, and then the other end of the multimeter, I touched the surface like you saw me do on top, it started flashing numbers. So there definitely is something wrong. I've never seen anything like this before. This water heater is less than 6 years old. We just moved into the house. It was fairly new, like 2 years ago. And I can't really describe why that would happen. So, so what I did was, and I went through the internet and looking for something to match or use the same element for the same water heater, and it was I wasn't really successful. So I did some more research, and as long as the elements is the same reading, and on the water heater you can tell right here. Let me try to see if I can zoom. The upper and the lower voltage, I'm sorry, wattage should be the same. Okay, so it is both of them are 4500. They are non-simultaneous, which means that the upper one would turn on, but the other one down there will be off. So it will kind of flip depending on how the water is heated, as long as it's uniform. So I just want to show you guys that this is actually a new element, and it's a generic one that I picked up at Lowe's. Okay, so with the multimeter, I actually brought it down to the lowest ohm setting, which is 200 on this thing. And again, doesn't matter which, red or black, wherever you touch, you just want to see if there is a reading on the multimeter, okay? So by touching these two together, you already see there, it should be more than 10, I guess less than 20 or so, 10 to 16. So that's actually a good reading. And beforehand too, I also tested this one down there and gave me the same reading. So likely I'm just going to replace, the both elements. I'm going to try to see, without draining the whole tank, especially the lower part, to do a quick swap. I did purchase the tool to remove the, it's a universal tool, which is this element wrench, and basically all these are all the same size. So these should all fit that, as well as this one over here. Okay. So what I did was I shut off the valve on top. Okay, so there's no cold water coming in to the water heater, because thereafter I'm gonna take a little bit of water out, because I know that every now and then, or at least once a year from what I understand, some sediments can collect at the bottom of the water heater. So I actually let a little bit out, and there's some sediment that came out. Okay, we live off of a well. We don't have a municipal water source. So I know there were times where we even saw grit inside the back of the toilet bowl tank, the reservoir. It was not grit, but more like sand or so. So I know that there's probably some sand in here. Not much I can do except, just bleed every now and then. So with this screwdriver, again, you just want to turn it counterclockwise. Whoops. You can see some of the water. It's coming out. So keep in mind that if you're doing this, the water may be scalding hot. I know for a fact that we have cold water in this tank. In the last 2 or 3 days now, it didn't really hit us until it wasn't heating anymore. So just be careful, all right? So what I did was I actually ended up draining the tank I tried going at the bottom, but the coil was totally corroded. I haven't done the bottom yet, but started doing the top part. I already used the wrench to loosen it, but I actually had a hard time pulling this one out. But when you... Maybe I should have just left it out. Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay, I had to finagle it, but I was able to... You can tell right there where it's already damaged. And it pulls it right out. Wow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace it with the universal one, which is this one. Okay. And that should be just as easy pushing it back through. However, I'm just going to clean around here because there's a lot of crud. So, all right, hang on. Again, just with the rag, just kind of cleaning off the sediment. I did it earlier, and this is a lot of the stuff that had come out. So by doing this, at least it'll be a nice good fitting, and you can tell that it's pretty clean. Okay. Okay, so what I did was I removed, again, the heating element. You can tell whether it's cracked. I'm not quite sure how that happened or why it happened. Everything else on here looks actually pretty good, although there's some, I guess, calcification on there. Now, what I purchased was a kit from Utilitech, and it came with this heating element, which it fits. I already had it in the water heater. However, it's a lot smaller, as you can tell. Oh, hey, move. Okay, so there you go. It's a side-by-side comparison. Let me try to put it someplace where you can see it. So that's it right there. And if you go from base to tip, it actually shortens up a little bit. And plus, this one, it folds over. And being that we have an 80-gallon tank, I just didn't think that would be good enough. I mean, the specs match. It's 240 volts, 4,500 watts. But I just feel that those things will be on much longer just to heat what this would do in such a short time. So I had to go back to the department store, the Lowe's, and I tried to match something that was close to it, which this is it right here. So it's almost the same length, and then again, it actually does fold over, as you can tell. So I still have yet to take out the bottom one. So I'm just going to put this in right now, kind of get it out of the way. And just how this is removed will be the same way this is, but just reversed. Just put it back in. And it does come with the bushing on it. So I'm going to make sure everything's there. Okay. So this is the bottom element. I'm having a hard time trying to pull it out, but I don't know if it's warped or what have you, but I just gotta wiggle it out very slowly so I'm not damaging the threads. But you can tell there's a lot of sediment. I don't know what that is, but maybe it's more calcification. There you go. Oh, wow. Okay, so let me try to clean this up a little bit. So the reason why I had such a hard time pulling it out is because it was all warped. You can tell right here is where I guess it burst. So holding it up straight. Otherwise, I would have had an easier time trying to pull it out and didn't have to drain the whole tank. So and it also busted there. So you have a couple places, one right there, and then one right there. Okay. Okay, so again, just like up there, I'm just kind of cleaning around to make sure that the threading is clean and it'll make a good seal. I actually stuck my finger inside here. I can actually feel a lot of sediment down there. I don't know how to get that out. So, taking out, it's the same thing as placing it back in. I just gotta slide it through very slowly as to not hurt the elements or do any damage to it. And then again, the rubber seal is on there, as you can tell right there. I want to make sure that's on there. And as soon as you get the groove, you should be able to screw it in. A little hard, but doing by hand, but as long as you get the, see, there you go. Just make sure it's on right. So put it in there. And that should be it. So once that's in there, I already have the one up there installed. I'm going to change out the I guess the temperature gauge or thermometer on both ends. Since the set came with it, I might as well just do everything all in one shot, whether it works or not. I don't want to go through this again. So, okay. So to remove the thermostat, what I did was I unscrewed here and there to pull these wires through. Okay. And you just tuck them away, just like that. This one can come out. And then this one down here. Okay, so now that it's free of the wires, you should be able to pull this straight out like that. Let me put this down. So you notice that there are clips at the bottom right there that hook onto the thermostat. This one's already loose. Okay, it's not loose, but it's already unclipped. This one I have to slowly pry off. Okay, so what I do is I just got a flathead and just pulled it towards me to unbend this just a little bit for me to slide it right out. And there you go. And then putting in the other one, although it's a little different, I think it's AppCom, it would still serve the same purpose. So putting it, this is the old one, we're putting it in the new one. And if you notice, the same clips that were here are the same ones that are there. And so there it is. As I mentioned before, I had to pull these out just a little bit towards me, just to take out the old one. Before I installed this one, I pushed this back in very gently so that when you slide this in, it actually clips right down on both ends of the thermostat. And now it's just a matter of connecting everything. Okay, so just like before, as I mentioned before, I took a picture of everything just to make sure that I'm doing everything right. This is my first time. I am not licensed to do this, but changing out a heating element and a thermostat, you know, after seeing those do-it-yourself videos, it's fairly easy to do, as long as everything is connected the right way. All right. So here is the final connection. I followed the directions and connected everything. The original element had its own wires coming out, so I had to pull some old wires, some new wires. Actually, I bought these before. These are, I think these are 10 gauge, 10 gauge wires. I was wiring some stuff in the house that required 240 volts, so I want to use thicker wiring. But yep, that's everything there. So I had to cut these and connect everything to where they need to be. And it's pretty tight on there, so. All right, now the next one is gonna be the lower one. So just like the one above, let me see, try to focus in on you. Again, you have to pull these clips back just a little bit to slide this thing out. And once that's out, I can install the new one. Very much identical, so whatever wire I pull out, I'll just fit it back in. So this wire here, this is going to connect down to the element. Likewise, this wire will come down to the other element. Okay. So let me get a wire here. Let's see. Okay, that's that one. And here's the other one. So again, you want to loosen this just to get the wire off. And then with a pair of pliers, slowly pull this up just a little bit so you can actually slide the lower thermostat out. Oh, second. Hey. Sorry, let me just try to fold this back up here again. I missed one more, which is actually up here. Let me see. So you have another wire that's connected on top, right down there. And that one has to come out from this wire here, okay? So this disconnects, just slide this right out, and then you should be able to slide the old one out. Okay. And then putting in the new one, it's just the same way, but in reverse order. Okay. So again, because I pulled these two clips forward, I'm gonna have to push them back just a little bit so it'll be snug onto the new thermostat. That there. This one up, and then you slide down, and it should click right on there, just like the old one. Alrighty. So here is everything that's connected. So just like before. Now I'm gonna turn on the valve on top to start filling up the tank, and then still at the same time checking for leaks, both down here and as well as the upper element. Okay, so I ended up turning on the water and I checked each leak, not each leak, but each element to make sure that nothing was coming out. And everything has been very much dry on both of the elements. Thereafter, I went upstairs and I turned on the kitchen sink on hot, as well as the two bathrooms and the bathtubs. So that way, as it's filling up with water, the air that's inside the tank has a place to go. And so it ensures me that this whole tank is pretty much sealed, and I'm sorry, pretty much filled with water. And now I'm going to turn on the hot water heater at the fuse panel. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Made a mess, but I'm going to clean everything up. Everything is all connected. Everything is dry. Okay, thank you. Okay, so again, these are the heating elements. This one was the lower part, and this one was the upper part. And again, you can tell how much this one was warped. I think mainly because a lot of that sediment. Basically, what happens is the water has some sediment in there and forms around the coil, making this thing heating a lot more just to get the heat past these. And I have a feeling it's going to happen again anyway. And again, we're living on well water. That was the lower one, and then the upper one. It's not as bad because I guess you don't have that much sediment on there. And this is probably what's been heating up the water heater this whole time until finally it just gave up and it blew. And that bend over there. This one here, again, it's one of guys I want to show you guys. There it is. So you see it opened up at the seam right there, and then if you turn it the other way around, you can tell it blew up over there too, which basically made this deform, I guess. So, alrighty. I did test the water. I know I have to give it a lot more time just to make sure it's running. And the water is coming out warm, which is really good. I'm glad I changed it to the longer ones. Excuse me, because the ones before that I was going to install was up to here, that long. And it was just one coil, where this one actually is, you know, if you can kind of, let's use this one instead, you know, it much longer. So it heats up the water quicker, and you don't have to use that much power to run that. So the other one was a lot smaller, and it will probably have to work twice as hard to heat up 80 gallons. All right. Anyway, that's about it. Thanks for watching. Okay.